Hello and welcome to another episode of Damn Interesting Week. We are so glad you've decided to join us. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And this was a damn interesting week. So let's get started with our first link.
First link.
All right, from The Guardian. A new study finds that employees who are impressed by corporate speak may be the least equipped to make effective decisions.
Ooh.
That's not what the title said.
Super fair. Okay, we'll go ahead and abbreviate it to BS.
There was the title.
Yep. But it is an academically defined term, which is a GD delay. So it's broadly defined as a type of semantically, logically, or epistemically dubious information that is misleadingly impressive, important, informative, or otherwise engaging. So it itself has a bit of a BS kind of definition, if you were impressed by that. Like, did you really need the big words? But corporate BS is a specific type of BS that uses puzzling corporate buzzwords and jargon and is ultimately, quote, semantically empty and often confusing. So to test the impact of corporate BS on workers, researcher and cognitive psychologist Shane Luttrell developed a corporate BS generator that generates statements like, "We will actualize a renewed level of cradle-to-grave credentialing, creating a..."
Sorry.
Yeah.
I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah. Keep it down. There's more coming. Creating a hyper-connected, frictionless, and impact-minded global enterprise while getting our friends in the tent with our best practices. We will pressure test a renewed level of adaptive coherence.
I hate that I understand all of these.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, you can speak it fluently, but if you're not impressed by it, you might be one of the good ones, Way. So the study mixed these generator quotes with real quotes from Fortune 500 company leaders, and they asked 1,000 office workers to rate each statement's quote-unquote business savvy. And when it came to measuring actual influence on the job, those who fell for corporate BS displayed lower scores on analytical thinking, reflection, and fluid intelligence. Now, Luttrell used results from the 4 studies to construct and develop what he's calling the corporate BS receptivity scale. And it's a tool designed for researchers and practitioners to examine the causes and consequences of receptivity to BS in organizations. He cited an example from 2009 when Pepsi's rebrand attempt was ridiculed after the leak of a 27-page document that opened with, quote, "By investing in our history and brand ethos, we can create a new trajectory forwards," which kicked off what was to be a $1.5 million attempt to slightly modify the company's logo. He also pointed to the infamous Elizabeth Holmes and her ability to use corporate BS to woo and ultimately defraud investors. Now, to be clear, being wowed by BS isn't all bad. I can hear them hedging for all the people who funded the study as we read this. In another study, those who were susceptible to corporate BS rated their supervisors as more charismatic and quote-unquote visionary.
Yeah. I'll note that the study didn't say people who use corporate BS are making bad decisions. It's people who fall for it. The corporate people using it are basically like, yeah, we know we have these idiots in our company and we know how to manipulate them, is what I'm hearing.
Or are they using it because they've fallen for it?
Maybe, but I just...
It's just BS all the way down.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You look for the culture, it trickles down. That's the only thing that trickles down.
Right?
All right, next link.
Next link.
This article comes to us from Science Alert, and it's titled Chernobyl Fungus Evolved an Incredible Ability.
Singing and dancing?
Yes. Yeah, when you hear Chernobyl and fungus, there's only a couple types of things it can do, really. But the Chernobyl exclusion zone may be off limits to humans, but not to every form of life. And ever since the Unit 4 reactor exploded nearly 40 years ago, other kinds of life forms have not only moved in, but survived, adapted, and appeared to thrive. Clinging to the interior walls of one of the most radioactive buildings on Earth, scientists have found a strange black fungus curiously living its best life. And that fungus is called Cladosporium sphaerospermum, and some scientists think its dark pigment, melanin, may allow it to harness ionizing radiation similar to the way plants harness light for photosynthesis. This proposed mechanism is even referred to as radiosynthesis. The mystery began back in the late 1990s when a team led by microbiologist Nelly Zhdanova of the Ukrainian National Academy of Sciences embarked on a field survey in the Chernobyl exclusion zone to find out what life, if any, could be found in the shelter surrounding the ruined reactor. There, they were stunned to find a whole community of fungi documenting an astonishing 37 different species. C. sphaerospermum dominated the samples while also demonstrating some of the highest levels of radioactive contamination. Ionizing radiation describes emissions of particles powerful enough to knock electrons from their atoms, turning them into their ionic forms, which can sound benign, but in practice, ionization can break apart molecules, interfering with biochemical reactions and even shredding DNA. But C. sphaerospermum appeared to be harvesting ionizing radiation and converting it into energy, with melanin performing a similar function to the light-absorbing pigment chlorophyll. That also appears to be supported by the findings of a 2022 paper in which scientists described the result of taking C. sphaerospermum into space and strapping it to the exterior of the ISS, exposing it to the full brunt of cosmic radiation. Which, they really went harder than they needed to, I feel like, but that's pretty amazing.
I'm thinking of, the car bras, where it's, that front strap of, leather, but it's just fungus.
I just saw it stuck on there with duct tape.
Right. Just, slap a piece on and see what happens.
Right on the outside.
So the aim of that paper was not to demonstrate or investigate radiosynthesis specifically, but to explore the fungus's potential as a radiation shield for space missions, which is a pretty cool idea. I mean, that's straight out of sci-fi, these giant plant ship things, pretty cool.
Yeah, or a suit with a layer of fungus in between two layers of fabric.
Sentient tech, let's do it.
But still, as of that paper, we still don't know what the fungus is actually doing to get this effect.
Yeah, but not knowing how they're doing it, we know they are doing
it.
We just can't prove how. Yeah.
Yeah, because they do grow when they get more radiation, and they're just, all over Chernobyl having a great time, apparently. Next link.
Next link.
Okay, this comes from Woman's World. You will have to follow me on this journey, though, all the way through it. Okay. 7 stolen dogs broke free and trekked over 10 miles home together, protecting each other the entire way.
Aww.
Straight out of Homeward Bound, right?
Yeah.
On March 16th, a person with the last name Lu recorded video of 7 dogs walking along a busy highway in Chengchun province. What he captured was extraordinary. According to the South China Morning Post, the footage shows the group of dogs surrounding an injured German Shepherd, shielding their hurt companion as they moved together along the road. At the front of the pack, a corgi repeatedly looked back to ensure none were left behind. Lu tried to guide the dogs to safety, but they ignored him, focused, it seemed, on the only mission that mattered, getting home. So he shared the video on Douyin, urging local authorities to step in. The local Bitter Coffee Stray Dog base reported that 7 dogs all came from the same village where they typically roam freely together, having formed strong friendships. The highway where Lu first spotted them was about 10 miles from their village. One volunteer claimed that individuals operating a dog meat shop had stolen the dogs, suggesting they may have escaped from a truck, though no witnesses saw their departure. In response, the base dispatched several volunteers and even a drone to track the dogs and facilitate their safe return home. Now, there's a little blurb in here that says what actually happened, but it keeps going on. I'm going to come back to that. On March 19th, a volunteer informed Jimu News that all 7 dogs had returned to their respective owners, who came from 3 different households. One owner expressed relief, stating, "We are so lucky they came back, not to be eaten." Another owner proudly mentioned her corgi, known for its cleverness and its ability to find its way home. That little corgi, the one captured on the video checking back, had led the group to safety. So if you all haven't seen the video, it's already hit 230 million views
Oh my gosh.
at the date of this article, which was like 5 days ago. So what, a billion now? Yeah. In China, dog theft is considered a criminal offense with penalties that can include fines or imprisonment based on the value of the animal. Currently, Chinese law does not explicitly prohibit the consumption of dog meat, although Shenzhen became one of the first mainland cities to ban the eating of cats and dogs in 2020. So for pet owners everywhere, the image of a small corgi refusing to leave an injured friend behind is a powerful reminder that dogs we love are capable of loyalty and devotion. Yeah, so you guys ready?
Yeah, destroy the dream. What happened for real?
CNN and Chinese state media investigated and debunked the key claims. There was no evidence the dogs had been stolen, no confirmed escape from a transport vehicle. The original person who filmed the video had just speculated about an escape, but later clarified he actually hadn't witnessed one. Reporting from Cover News and City Evening News tracked down the dog's owners, and the answer is pretty mundane. All of the dogs belonged to villagers who lived a few kilometers from the highway where they were filmed. The German Shepherd had been in heat, which is why the other dogs were drawn to it, the owner said. Most dogs in the village were free roaming and often disappeared for a day or two during their heat cycle. The 7 dogs in question have since returned home, with the German Shepherd now restrained on a leash until its heat cycle ends. So few things, right? Not real. AI, viral animal content. It creates this nice narrative that makes us want to believe.
Yeah.
And the reality is that story, as cute as it is, also still has some pretty problematic stereotypes in there, right? Like, initially, did I want to believe this because I'm a dog lover? Yep. I was all in. Yeah, I was all in because it felt good. And then I had to click on that link and ruin it.
Yeah, it's like our era's Balto, but no.
Well, it's like you said, I think there's some people who would even argue, like, what does it matter if it's fake? It's a feel-good story, but there are insidious parts to it.
Right.
And it's like, that's how they get you. The feel-good part isn't the only part of the story.
And the more you acclimate towards information that confirms what you want to believe, well, arguably you might be drifting from reality, friend.
But at a minimum, we can say that 7 dogs are friends.
Yay!
Or at least 6 of them are horny.
Right.
Well, I guess all 7.
And on that note, next link.
Next link.
All right. Well, to make up for my horrible whaling article a few weeks ago, we've got a really nice one here from the New Yorker called "What Happens When a Whale is Born?"
Oh.
And up until very recently, for most whale species, the answer was, we have no idea, because unless you're talking about orcas in captivity, it's just not the sort of thing that we're often around to witness. But in July of 2023, a team of researchers got lucky. They were part of the Cetacean Translation Initiative, or SETI with a C.
That's a great name.
It is. It's wonderful. Which has for many years now been recording the clicks and codas of various whales in an effort to amass enough audio data that they can throw AI at it and maybe figure out what the whales are actually saying. One of the beneficial uses of AI, analyzing data.
Yeah.
So they'd gone out looking for a new sperm whale to tag with a device that would record both its sounds and movements when they stumbled upon a group of 11 sperm whales just hanging out at the surface of the ocean. And this was very weird. So they put the tagging mission on hold and instead launched 2 aerial drones to get above the group and show them live video footage. And it still wasn't clear what was going on. But then, about an hour after they showed up, this big cloud of blood appeared in the water and suddenly there was a 12th whale.
Oh.
And the author of the article was actually on the research ship at the time because she was supposed to be writing about the SETI project. So she's got firsthand evidence of how the scientists reacted to the live birth, which involved a lot of 4-letter words and running around screaming in excitement. Because not only was this the first time anyone had ever seen a sperm whale birth, but thanks to the drones, they had caught the whole thing on camera. Even better, the researchers were actually already familiar with several whales in the group and were able to determine after analyzing the footage that the new mama was a whale named Rounder.
Interesting names they chose for these
No,
whales.
the names get better.
Great.
Now, sperm whales are interesting in this regard because the males travel solo, but the females stay in groups of anywhere between 3 to 30, with the male calves staying with their mother's group until they're about 15 years old. This means that on one hand, females in a social group are very often related, but you also commonly get situations where 2 or more families will join forces. And that's the case for Rounder as well. Her social group, which is known to the researchers as Unit A, consists of Rounder's mother and half-sister, but also an older, unrelated whale named Fruit Salad, along with Fruit Salad's daughter and granddaughter.
I just got like a vision of myself as an elderly person.
Named Fruit Salad?
Yep. Amazing.
But that's relevant here because all of Unit A was present for the birth, and all of them took turns caring for the newborn during its first hours, which is very pro-social cooperative behavior for the members of a group to be expending energy and risking danger for a baby that is not genetically related to them. And there was definitely energy and risk involved because a newborn sperm whale is not buoyant, and its fluke, or the part of its tail that it uses to swim, is still folded up from being inside the womb.
Oh, wow.
So unless everyone works together to keep the baby on the surface of the water for several hours, it will sink and drown.
Well, that's a bad design.
It is. It really is.
Or because it forces that pro-social behavior, intentional design?
Right. Better in the long run. Yeah. And the researchers indeed observed that the whales not only took turns draping the calf over their heads and holding it up, but sometimes they even formed a full raft with their bodies side by side and held the baby up completely out of the water, which, by the way, a baby sperm whale out of the water weighs more than a ton. So they were working for it.
Wow.
And there's not video, but there is a GIF of the video, which has the baby on the raft. Like, it's very cute. You should look at it. There was even a moment when a group of potentially dangerous pilot whales approached the scene, and the sperm whales immediately started vocalizing with each other in a whole new way to address the situation. So aside from witnessing this social birthing behavior, they also got a ton of associated audio that's unlike anything they've ever heard as well. But the really touching detail here is that, if you recall, the number of whales at the birth was 11, and there are only 6 members in Unit A. And the researchers didn't have all 11 tagged, so they didn't necessarily know where they all came from. But they did know one of them for sure, and that was a male named Alan, who is actually Rounder's half-brother. He became old enough to leave the female group several years ago, but seems to have returned specifically on this occasion to watch his nephew being born. So it's just beautiful all around. The only thing that remains to be seen is exactly what they're saying to each other when they do talk, but they're definitely talking. They're saying, like, my baby registry is at Target, and you should...
I love that we had names like Rounder, Fruit Salad, and the guy whale's name was Alan.
Yeah.
Just Alan and Steve.
Next link.
Next link. Okay, from My Modern Met, getting its own YouTube channel for the first time ever, it's Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, like they're going to
Nice.
upload all of it? That's awesome.
That's what we're hearing, maybe, perhaps, fingers crossed, because boy, what a time for Mr. Rogers and his calm, nervous system regulating wisdom to come back into fashion. If you are not familiar, it is a beloved TV show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It ran from 1968 to 2001 in the U.S.
Whoa.
And I'll be honest, I did not know it was running that late. I'm hoping that's not inclusive of like syndication reruns, because what a haul. But it left an indelible mark on generations of children. I was kind of watching in its heyday. It was a huge part of my media literacy onboarding, so to speak. And people continue to quote and rely on Mr. Rogers' wisdom in time of need today. So, hoping to help it reach new audiences in an era where it could really come in handy, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is getting a dedicated YouTube channel for the first time ever. It's a collaboration between Fred Rogers Productions and Little Dot Studios, which has previously worked with PBS Kids, which is what airs reruns of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And the new platform will feature both full-length episodes and what they're calling repurposed digital-first content, which just sounds like clips, shorts, compilations, different remixes, because...
Bloopers.
Oops, all kindness. Let's hope. Paul Siefkin, president and CEO of Fred Rogers Productions, says that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood continues to inspire viewers young and old across 4 generations. As huge fans of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, we're honored to bring our digital distribution experience to the partnership, blah, blah, press release. And while a launch date has not been set for the channel, you can revisit the neighborhood anytime on PBS Kids YouTube channel, where you can see full episodes of the show. But honestly, any effort to get more of Mr. Rogers into the culture, I'm gonna thumbs up. And who knew that I would be advocating for values-driven kids media at this age? But times are calling for it.
There is a somewhat of a blooper out there online. One of his production assistants, you know, when he comes in and he puts on his shoes, they switched out his shoes with smaller shoes that wouldn't fit.
That's about the level of
prankery. Exactly. And he finds it hysterical.
Yeah, he wasn't mad. He was like, "F it, we're gonna do it live."
He didn't have an explosion of like, "You're in my light." I will say something a little controversial here.
Uh-oh.
I didn't really watch him. He kind of creeped me out.
I honestly, my mother didn't like him. Like, I watched a little bit, but I was much more into, like, the Muppets and Sesame Street because I was much more of a manic child. And so his energy was too slow for me. But my mother was legitimately like, she was like, it feels like the show for slow children. And I was like, as a child, I was like, oh, that's actually a compliment because people are always telling me to slow down and stop yelling and whatever. But as I got older, I was like, oh, no, I don't think she meant it that way.
Okay, well, I understand the different digital-first content. They basically have to make Mr. Rogers fit the new overstimulated baseline of people today, and that's fine. I hope you get your nervous system to a point where you can enjoy regular Rogers.
And listen, here's the thing. Like, for children, I'm sure it was still great. Like, my mother was an adult. You can't expect children's programming to always be entertaining to tired parents who were like, dear God, don't make me watch this again. Like, it's, she wasn't against Mr. Rogers philosophically, just in her living room.
Yeah, and his delivery definitely appealed to a certain space on the spectrum, shall we say, because, like, he would always take off his shoes, he would put on, like, a comfy sweater, and there was a very predictable kind of formula to it. I think he was an actual preacher, if I'm not mistaken, so he was actively, in the ministry, and so that may be what your radar picked up on, Bradley.
I think that's what it was.
Well, and he very specifically, I remember at one point, he was a big leader in the social movements of tolerance and acceptance and whatever. There was a famous episode where his postman was played by a black actor.
Yep.
And he specifically did a segment where they washed their feet together, partly because of the biblical symbolism for their conservative audience, but also because at that time, there was a big uproar about shared pools. And this idea of racial integration at the pool specifically. So he was like, no, actually, I'm going to do this right on television and you can't stop me. And it was huge at the time. It was very, very brave, but also it made a point. It was very nice.
Yeah.
He's a good man. I'm not against Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. Like, amazing. Just wasn't for me. It's how I feel about, like, not that Bob Dylan is creepy, but it's like, I don't want to listen to Bob Dylan, but I respect it. I understand the genius of it.
Yeah. Fred Rogers is Bob Dylan. We all agree on that. That's
No more questions.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Next link?
Next link.
This article comes to us from Smithsonian Mag. It's titled, Why Was This 2,000-Year-Old Sling Bullet Inscribed with the Word Learn?
Oh, boy. I bet
the threat. I mean.
Yeah, it's just Mr. Rogers from a different angle, really. So, archaeologists working at this ancient city of Hippos are accustomed to unearthing traces of weapons and projectiles. Located in what's now the Golan Heights, the city overlooking the Sea of Galilee was the site of several battles thousands of years ago. But last year, a team from the University of Haifa was scanning near a riverbed at Hippos with metal detectors when they discovered a particularly intriguing artifact, a 2,000-year-old sling bullet inscribed with the word learn in Greek. The researchers, who published their findings this month in the journal Palestine Exploration Quarterly, think the word may be an abbreviated form of a phrase like learn your lesson. Lead author Michael Eisenberg, an archaeologist at the University of Haifa, says in a statement, this represents local sarcastic humor on the part of the city's defenders who wish to teach their enemies a lesson with a wink. So, sling bullets are almond-shaped projectiles, and the earliest examples were made from stone or clay. When the newly discovered artifact was created during the Hellenistic period, sling bullets were more commonly made of lead. Attackers would place the bullet in a leather pouch before flinging it at the enemy. Eisenberg tells us, we use metal detectors very frequently next to our excavation areas. Sling bullets are among the easiest to find with a metal detector due to their lead mass. Researchers have found 69 bullets at Hippos, most dating to the 2nd century BCE. But the Learn bullet, which measures just over an inch, is the first inscribed example unearthed at the site. Elsewhere, Sling bullets have been recovered with visible inscriptions such as, "Take a taste," or "Receive this," which is like...
Catch this, fascist.
Exactly, yeah. It's like the ancient equivalent of catch on a brick or something. But experts have never seen one with this particular phrase before. Eisenberg said, while the word on the bullet translates to learn, the inscription is written in middle voice, a verb form between active voice and passive voice, in which the subject both performs and receives an action. So perhaps the attackers are trying to convey all the more strongly that the victim should draw his lesson for himself, the researchers write. In this sense, the unusual form would in fact serve to heighten sarcasm even further. So the question is, who was this message intended to reach exactly? The researchers aren't sure, as the bullet could have been used in any of the several battles during the Hellenistic period in which Hippos was involved. The researchers think the bullet was fired from inside the city's walls, perhaps defending Hippos against approaching armies. And an analysis of the recovered bullet suggests that it hit something, and maybe somebody did learn something. So there you have it. Next link.
Next link.
Okay, I know I disappointed you with the last one, but this one's real and should redeem. So this is from CBC. Woman who never stopped updating her lost dog's chip reunites with him after 11 years.
Wow.
When Jordan Kozak got a call on Saturday from a man who claimed that her long-lost dog had been found, she thought he was playing a sick prank. That's because her beloved pit bull, 40 Cal, had been missing for 11 years. Then the staff at Animal Care and Control Team in Philly sent her some pics of the pooch in question. She said, immediately, I could remember his markings from a mile away. That's him.
No.
She hadn't seen 40 Cal since he disappeared along with her family's second dog from the backyard of her former home in Philadelphia. The other dog turned up not long after, but 40 Cal never returned. She had always suspected he was stolen from the yard. In intervening years, Kozak has gotten married, had a new child, moved to Luzerne County, Penn. Still, she never stopped updating the microchip. She said, I never gave up hope because obviously I'm relentless, she said.
11 years.
It was a little girl in Philadelphia who found him. He was super docile and friendly, and he walked right up to her. She brought him into the house with her parents, and they made him some hot dogs. They couldn't keep him because they have another animal, so they called animal control. She says the rest is history. Her hands were shaking with anticipation, she said. But when she saw her dog coming out, that all stopped. She said, we put our hands out, he sniffed us, and then proceeded to pull us towards the door like, let's go.
About time.
40 Cal was sick and sleepy for the first days, but now he's back to his normal self and seems as happy as can be, acting like a puppy again.
Yeah, I mean, he must have been basically a puppy when she lost him, if he's 11 years have gone by. Yeah.
Yeah, I paid with him with my own money at 16 years old.
Wow.
So she had him for a couple of years, and then he got taken. So there's the good feel good. And that one's real. Oh, well, as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, the reunion video
there.
might be fake, but at least the basic facts of her and her dog, and they called her, probably were verified.
Yeah, exactly. So keep updating that chip. You never know, everybody.
Yeah, I have to say, of my 3 dogs, they all came from the shelter, so they're all chipped. But one of them got like an issue. She basically developed this mass around it, and they had to remove it. So she's not currently chipped. She's got a collar on for sure. But if someone, but again, if someone is trying to take your dog, the chip's not going to matter. The chip only matters if someone with good intentions finds the dog. So, and I'm like, I can't put another chip in her because she's probably going to get the same issue. Whatever thing her body did to reject it is going to happen again, presumably. So
Dog's just not allowed to leave the house.
And trust me, she doesn't want to. She's very, very happy sitting on the couch all day. We have to make her go outside to pee. And even then, she's like, all right, 2 seconds and then I'm back. Like, I don't appreciate this. All right. Well, that is all we have time for today. We're so glad you've joined us. Some of the articles we did not have time to get to today include: why do taxi drivers have a lower risk of Alzheimer's? Why Spain has the world's biggest concentration of greenhouses? And Japan makes breakthrough in dirty diaper recycling. So all that and more, plus everything we talked about today, can be found on damninteresting.com. If you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.